On today's episode, we have LaKendra, a program manager, and Dana, the executive director for Houston Strong, which is a child placing agency in the Houston area. They've been doing organic gardening for the past decade and do growing for local Houston restaurants and are building a food forest. Let's learn more about their backgrounds and the therapeutic benefits of gardening. Hi, LaKendra and Dana. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Good
Hello.
afternoon, Sarah.
Can you both share with everyone what you do for a living and how you got into gardening?
LaKendra can
Sure.
start.
So my name is LaKendra. I'm the program manager for Houston Strong. I've been a social worker for about 15 years, working in various different organizations with different populations. And I've been gardening for pretty much my whole life, but I've been gardening in the Houston area for about the last 10 years.
Awesome.
Good afternoon. I'm Dana Jenkins. I am the executive director of Houston Strong Children's Services. I have been gardening never. I did like the little projects you did in school or whatever, but LaKendra's green thumb, I just borrow it from time to time to help her do what she does.
That's awesome. Well, there's always room for more green thumbs in the industry.
Absolutely.
So, was there a turning point in your careers where you realized you wanted to make a bigger impact? Houston Strong is an incredibly awesome organization, and you're helping out an amazing group of people who really deserve some support.
Absolutely. For me, as I stated, my major was social work. So I knew from the very beginning that I wanted to help people. I didn't know exactly how I wanted to do that, but I just knew I wanted to help people in a special way. I've been working with Houston Strong since March of this year. And I joined Houston Strong because, like you said, the things that we're doing here are amazing, and we're able to affect the lives of children in foster care in a very special way here.
For me, initially when I started with Houston Strong, I started off at our SEAL. A SEAL is a supervised independent living home for youth between the ages of 16 and 25 who are either homeless or facing homelessness. What we try to do is to become a bridge between being in a structured environment and then being independent with no rules and regulations. So we found that there was a bridge that needed to be there. So our founder and CEO, Crystal Jackson, she started thinking outside of the box when it came to therapy. And one of the things that she did discover was non traditional forms of therapy. And she realized that gardening is that it's a form of therapy without sitting across from someone. One thing that I have learned from LaKendra and some of my basketball athletes is that you actually talk to the plants. And they talk back to you, and they thrive off of that conversation. So we knew that creating that non-traditional form of therapy that we could reach more youth in our SEAL program and youth in the foster care system all over.
That's so cool. I've met some amazing people through gardening and just being able to like chat about plants we're both working with and the challenges we have with the soil. I think it's a really great way to connect with community and really kind of do something like outside of your comfort zone if you're not used to like playing with the soil. It's a really fun opportunity for people to like collaborate in a new way. So I really love that. And, gardening is hugely therapeutic to me. I love going out on my little patio garden when I have some time and I want to unwind. And I think really anybody with any size space, even a little bit indoor, you can play around with plants and get involved. So, for someone who has never thought of gardening as therapeutic, how would you explain what exactly happens when somebody puts their hands in the soil and how it might help them feel a little bit happier?
I would say gardening engages all of your senses. So when you're in the garden, you have to be present in that moment. It teaches you life lessons, like you said, just all the little things when you're gardening, even trying to pull a weed. Sometimes that weed might be really tough to pull out, which is a life lesson in itself. And then there's a science behind what happens when you put your hands in soil, how it reduces stress and releases hormones that reduce stress. It lowers anxiety and it improves your mood overall.
And
For me, what I can easily compare it to is grounding. My wife enjoys grounding, and she introduced me to grounding. And of course, not knowing what it was like, okay, what's gonna happen here? I don't understand the magic. But then when I did, so we go to Galveston, and when I did put my feet in the sand and cover my feet completely in the sand, like LaKendra said, I did feel something different. Like I can feel different energies and once I was on the way home, I just felt like this absorbent amount of energy. Like I think I'm Spider-Man or Superwoman or one of them superheroes from the Avengers that I never watched. Like I just felt like I had like all what are they called? The gemstones that you need to get. Yeah, I felt like I had the little fist with all the gemstones just from grounding. So I can imagine gardening is the exact same thing. And that's great when it comes to the youth in foster care because it's a form of affirmation and a form of empowerment and I could just imagine how it just helps them become their full selves outside of just sitting across from someone having that conversation.
yeah, absolutely. And have you kind of noticed whenever the kids are like working with the soil or tending to plants, do their faces kind of light up a little bit? Or do you see any like instant reactions?
I think absolutely. I think anytime you're touching a plant, especially just because a lot of people don't know where their food comes from. So when you have a little tomato plant and you let someone know this is going to grow and you're going to be able to eat tomatoes from this, it gives them a different feeling. It gives them excitement to know that something more is coming from this little plant.
Oh, yeah. It really blows, like, kids' minds when you're like, you can grow it and you can eat it. It's just
Absolutely.
the whole, like, from sowing the seed to harvesting, which is so cool, and it's such a different experience, and you guys work with some of Houston's most vulnerable youth. What does a therapeutic garden offer compared to classic therapeutic, maybe talk therapy settings?
For me, it literally provides what we state that it is. It's a non-traditional form of therapy. Therapy is such a taboo word, and when you think about the youth that we deal with in foster care, unfortunately, majority of that population is African American and Hispanic population. So then you have to think about the mindset of the parents and generations before either any of us on this camera was ever born and how they feel about therapy. So it's like my child doesn't need therapy, we'll go to church. My child doesn't need therapy, I'll put him in a sport. But I am a firm believer that each and every one of us beings on earth need therapy. We're all individual. We all think differently, we feel differently, and we express our emotions differently. And we need someone dedicated to us to help us with that. And so, because we're all different, we also have these different ways of communicating and how we like to go about that task. And so, for those people that are born like LaKendra with a green thumb, there needs to be that outlet. Why does it have to be conformed to a 1 hour session, 30-minute or 45-minute session when we can literally go outside and let's grow some what did she grow that I love? Some yams. Let's grow some yams and then we can one session we can plant the seed. The next session, we look at it grow. The next session we can see because we already have leaves. We can see how we can I didn't know that you can eat yam leaves. So that's a session in itself. But as I'm teaching you what you can do with these fruits and vegetables, I'm also allowing you to express how you feel. Like feel this leaf. Like how does this leaf feel to you? Is it rugged? Have you ever experienced a rugged time in your life? So it allows us to think outside of the box in regards to how we ask these questions as well, so we can get to the root cause of some of the concerns and issues that the youth are experiencing in care.
Wow, that's an incredible answer. Thank you.
And
LaKendra?
to Yeah, and to add to that, we know that like Dana said, everyone doesn't react the same to traditional therapy. Some of the youth don't want to sit in an office and or they're not comfortable opening up to someone who they don't know. So gardening offers a more safe option, you know? You're not immediately asking for their feelings, you're just kinda asking them to be there in the moment. It's a non-judgmental space, they can just participate. They learn a lot of life skills also from the garden that help you open up as well, like teamwork. You learn how to process your emotions while you're in the garden because there are frustrating things, there's successes, there's failures. So you learn a lot of lessons and it helps you open up in a different way that's not the traditional way.
I like that. And, like Dana had also mentioned too, like all of the senses, like feeling things and then relating that back to maybe a challenging experience, smelling things. It's really cool how you can get all of your senses in the garden too. And I think there is a lot to that in therapy that isn't really talked about in the classical setting. So I love that take. I think that's so fascinating. And are there specific gardening practices, permaculture, food forests, organic growing that lend themselves better to therapeutic work than others, would you say?
I wouldn't say that one is better than the other for therapeutic purposes. It would
Uh-huh.
just depend on kind of the lesson that you're trying to help the youth learn at that time. You know, a food forest could be something that you use for more grounding purposes. It mimics a forest. So I know when I'm out in nature, hiking or something, being surrounded by the trees is helpful. A permaculture garden, kind of the same thing. It teaches you how multiple things can live in one space and interact in a healthy way. And then organic gardening is more of like the hands on teamwork, life lessons kind of thing, because you have to learn okay, we have an issue in the garden, we have a pest that we have to deal with. It's a little bit more thought provoking than if you're not an organic gardener, you know, you have to think of different ways to handle that issue. And I think that encourages a little bit more mindfulness because you have to pay close attention to details. You have to pay more attention to the health of your soil, biodiversity, rather than relying on quick fixes.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I feel like that's also oh, sorry to interrupt, Dana. I feel like that's all so much of that is so true with life. Quick fixes don't always work out. Sometimes it's the extra research and time and breathing exercises we have to do to overcome things. Go ahead, Dana.
You literally said my answer in a
Oh, I'm
different
sorry.
way. Yeah, so you gave examples to me stating that with the gardening, because there are so many different things that can happen. One thing that I believe that our youth struggle with now is critical thinking. And so it also forces them to critically think. Like it's supposed to be going straight out. What do I need to fix? How do I need to fix it? Can I do it on my own, or do I need to reach out to my resources? Can someone else help me? Or did I do something wrong in the process? So I think that it evokes unintentionally that critical thinking aspect.
And to me, like the word I first thought of when you just said that is it empowers them to do the research. So I love that. Like really good point. So, Houston's climate and growing seasons are unique. We were just talking about how uncomfortably hot it just became, and we've been dealing with like flooding and a ton of rain. So, how do you use those to your advantage whenever you design a garden around healing and community?
I think also with the climate there's a lot of positive that comes with that because unlike a lot of other growing zones, we have the ability to grow year round here. And we can grow things that we can kind of push the limits, you know, and grow things that more cold weather environments grow or things that, you know, like Florida or a more tropical plant. So that means that the youth get to have more time in the garden throughout the year. They get to learn about different types of plants and the species and our ecosystem. When we're designing the spaces, like we said earlier, we try to engage all five senses so we can bring in things like eucalyptus, or we can bring in things with fuzzy leaves that will last a little bit longer, so we get to use the therapeutic benefits of those plants a little bit longer throughout the year. I think we only get about 3 months of the year where it's kind of impossible to grow things, which is when it's really cold. But that gives us a little bit more time for reflection and observing the garden and seeing what we want to do next for next year.
And I think when you think about it from a CEO, executive director, a higher leadership in an organization standpoint, I just want to point out how important it is to have people that have mastered that skill. As I've previously stated, LaKendra has mastered that. If you didn't know her, you would think, I tell everybody, you would think that she got her degree in agriculture because she knows so much about it. Like, gardening is her basketball. Like, I can tell you about basketball all day long. I've probably forgotten more basketball than you two know together. So with us knowing that we wanted to do urban farming, and then she came in for her position, and then every time we hire an employee, I always ask for them to close their eyes. So can I do this with you, Sarah?
Sure.
Okay, so I'd like you to close your eyes for me. So every single job on earth pays the same, whether you're a radio host, whether you're a gardener, you are a pilot, you're a doctor, you're a teacher, you're an executive director or a program manager at Houston Strong. Every single job pays the same. What would you do?
Probably artwork that involves plants.
Okay, art and plants. So this is literally what I did with LaKendra. And she said, garden. I said, oh my God, God is amazing. We're looking for somebody to go ahead and assist us in building out our urban farming platform. And now he has sent us someone who has mastered that skill. She actually loves it. So you know what she's gonna do? If we were giving her a role to do something with gardening, she's not only gonna do it between the hours that we provide her to do it, she's gonna go above and beyond because it's something that she loves. She's gonna be fulfilling her purpose. So it won't be a job. She won't get up all upset and angry and mad that she has to come in to Houston Strong. She's gonna come in with that extra energy that she gets from gardening because she gets to garden.
That's amazing. I love that. And, like, there are slowly but surely starting to come out more articles and information about how really, like, taking, hospital patients, for example, I'll use an more extreme example, and giving them a window in their room, they heal faster. I was reading about, I think it was in England somewhere. They had built a rooftop garden and they were taking patients out to the rooftop garden and they were just having these remarkable results. So I really think like any opportunity you have to get outside can make a really huge impact on the quality of your life as a whole.
Absolutely.
That vitamin D to help with that depression all day long.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And so, can you share a little bit about the therapeutic garden you're building at the supervised independent living home and what does that vision look like from the ground up?
Sure. So the supervised independent living home is in a residential area. It has a residential yard, but the whole backyard will be used for the therapeutic garden. So there are youth between the ages of 16 to 25 living there. So we want to have a space where they can sit in the garden, that they have opportunities to use different growing methods there. So whether that be vertical gardening, in the ground gardening, raised bed gardening. Like we said, we really want to have a sensory garden there as well so that they can engage all five senses. And like I said, sitting in the garden for me is really important. I think you should always have a chair in your garden, somewhere where you can sit back and reflect on what you want to do next, what you've already done, and just to bask in the the glory of the garden. So that's kind of what we want to create for them, somewhere where they feel like they can relax, that they'll be excited to go and see what's growing, to see what's happening out there, somewhere that looks visually engaging, that encourages you to be out there more. And then also, we have our workforce development side. So hopefully, some of our youth will be interested in agriculture and we can help them expand on that, and to pursue that as a career if they want to.
I'm a second
Awesome.
everything LaKendra just said.
And I also you mentioned, whenever we were talking previously that you're expanding this into foster homes across Houston, which I think is awesome. How do you design a garden program that works across so many different spaces and settings?
So we license foster and adoptive homes under Houston Strong. So each of our foster homes have the ability to have a garden there if they want it. So with our program, we would put in the bed for them, we provide the plants or seeds, and allow them to learn under our program the benefits of gardening and to be able to teach that to the youth that they have in their home. And then if they need any support from us, of course, we provide that support, but we teach them about the therapeutic benefits, the sensory benefits, and how to take care of the garden also. So we provide the beds, we set everything up for them and kind of give them a whole package, ready to go and what to do with it.
It's awesome. So, organic gardening requires patience. We've all, had to deal with our fair share of aphids or a soil disease problem, and we can't jump into using pesticides because that's not what we're doing. And especially, if you're working with young adults and teaching them how to garden, I always am encouraging people to go organic because it's healthy for you, it's healthy for the plants. You don't wanna hurt any maybe dogs in the lawn, you know what I mean? I wanna be able to, like, walk around barefoot and not be worried about any kind of, like, chemical exposure or anything along those lines. So, how would you say the organic gardening practices that you're teaching, how do those lessons translate to, the amazing kids that you guys are all helping out with, and who are navigating some of the hardest transitions in their lives? How would you say it kind of translates?
I would say the biggest lesson from the garden in general, one of the most important life lessons that you can get from the garden is that growth takes time. Nothing is going to happen overnight. And that's a lesson that's really hard today because we live in a world where we always want immediate results, and nature doesn't work that way. You literally plant the seed and trust the process. And organic gardening specifically, like we said earlier, you have to learn those other ways of dealing with pests and dealing with droughts and all of those other variables that can affect your garden in a organic way, meaning we're not taking the short way to correct this issue. And so, because our youth in foster care are navigating significant transitions and uncertainty, gardening kind of helps them understand that a setback does not mean failure. When you're gardening, you keep going, you keep trying. Our plants, they go through storms, they go through pests, droughts, a lot of challenges, but they keep growing. And that's a good lesson for our youth. It's a very powerful lesson that their journey isn't linear. Progress can be slow, but it doesn't stop. It's consistent and growth is going to happen.
And the only thing that I would add to such an amazing response that LaKendra gave is that it also provides an opportunity to show and explain to the youth how every plant grows differently. Like you have two sunflowers that were planted at the same time. You have two tomatoes that were planted at the same time, but they went on two separate journeys on um, becoming a fruit. So you can correlate that to a youth because we do know between that age of 16 and 25 is where there's a lot of comparisons and a lot of peer pressure. And man, look at how they're living. And unfortunately, because there is such a stigmatism with youth in foster care, one, a lot of them don't even like to acknowledge that they're youth in foster care. And two, it's not a conversation that they like to engage in when the conversation is broached. So you can have that conversation with it and compare it to something that they can relate to, then it makes it easier for them to have the conversation and empowers them to have the conversation in a positive way and see it in a positive way. That way, they are more excited about having that conversation and dispelling that narrative, that negative connotation that is put on youth in foster care, unfortunately, right now.
Wow, that was incredible. I've never even thought about looking at plants that way either. So I think that can make a huge impact. And yeah, especially in the world of social media, I feel like people really compare themselves more than ever. So I think that is like just so well said. So can you share? I'm like so curious to learn more about all of the programs that you all have. Can you share about your workforce development program and what kind of opportunities are open for young people looking to get involved?
Sure. So through our workforce development, our goal is to connect youth to meaningful career pathways, to help them develop and to help them develop practical life skills. So we have our youth in the seal mainly, and if they say they want to learn basket weaving, they want to be a basket weaver, we're going to try to help them figure out how to do that. Even if that means that we have to go out and do some research, we're going to try to put them on the path to achieving that. So it goes beyond gardening. We try to expose them to any career path that they tell us that they're interested in so that they can gain experience in entrepreneurship. If we can find them an apprenticeship to get exposure to that career path, we will do that. We also have our internship program. So we have a number of MSW students, psychology students, students from law firms who are not in foster care. They are just in different colleges around, well, at this point around the US. And they come here to Houston Strong and we help them get the hours that they need to complete their programs. And if they need some other assistance learning how to find a job after college, we can help them with that as well.
Amazing. Dana, did you have anything to add?
I just feel like if we were to name all of the universities that we partner with, that'll be the end of the podcast. But shout out to University of Houston where we received our first interns from, of course, UHD Gators, which is University of Houston Downtown Gators. We just had an intern from Alabama. University of Alabama, we have LSU, University of Texas Arlington, Walden, Our Lady of the Lake, just to name a few. I can keep going, but we don't have enough time.
That's so cool. I think you guys are really making a huge impact. And can you share about the growing you do for a farm to table restaurant? LaKendra, you had mentioned this to me briefly, and why having a strong community involvement is important to you in that capacity.
Yeah, so that's something that I kind of do separate from Houston Strong.
Okay.
So I have had the amazing opportunity to partner with a few chefs in the area to provide them with organic produce. I think having your produce grown locally is very, very important. And I think if more small scale gardeners come together and give away or sell our overflow, we can make a huge impact in our food system. So I'm just trying to do my part. And anything that I have in overflow, I share it with those chefs. And if somebody wanted me to grow something for them that they don't have in the area, I will grow whatever they need for them. I do contract growing, and I think that is so important for our community because, like you said, you meet amazing people through gardening. And then also, it just really, really affects our food system. And that's so important because we see now the rising cost of vegetables. A lot of times we don't know what's being put on our vegetables, and I don't want to be too controversial, but we also don't know exactly what does organic gardening mean everywhere else. So what's organic to me may not be organic to a large scale grower. I know organic vegetables may not always look the same and uniform and pretty. And being able to be here in the community and explain that to the chefs directly, that it doesn't affect the taste. This is what real fruit and vegetables look like when it comes from a garden that is here. It's not sprayed with anything, it's not treated with anything. We're just doing companion planting and dealing with the issues as they arise. So things may not look how they look from the grocery store, but they're just as good.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And, I'm getting to the point where I try to not go for the perfect looking fruit or vegetable because I'm like, why is this so perfect
Mhm.
looking?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Yeah.
I think partnerships and collaborations, that's how we build strong communities. And
Yeah.
then we don't have to buy out the grocery stores when there's something happening because we're afraid we're not going to be able to eat. Then we just know we go to our local gardener, our local farmer, and they're probably going to have something ready for you.
And I'm curious for both of you, what would you say? Because we've been talking around here about community a lot. Somebody even said to me, I was doing a talk recently, and they were like, "Oh, it's interesting. Your main point about marketing is community." What do each of you think a great way to start thinking about joining a community or being involved? Like, what would you say the number one step you would suggest somebody looking to help a organization bigger than themselves?
That's a good question. For me, when I'm looking for a new community, I try to find the sources around me. So when I got to Houston, I'm originally from West Texas. So the growing seasons, the way that you grow there is completely different from Houston. So I had to find other gardeners in the area. And I started by joining gardening clubs, learning online, of course, watching YouTube, but through those gardening clubs, I met a lot of amazing people, and then also Facebook groups were really, really helpful for me, and then eventually, I ended up starting my own garden club with a group of ladies, and we've grown pretty large since then, and then we work with a lot of other organizations surrounded around gardening in the area. So I feel like once you start seeking it, you'll find it, and then that that ecosphere just grows and grows and grows.
So I'm gonna give you another task, Sarah.
Yeah,
Um, what who makes the headphones you have on?
I think it's like spider something maybe.
Okay, Spider something. What about the mic that's right there in front of you? Who makes
Oh,
that?
that's a Shure mic.
Okay, and the technology device that you're doing this meeting with us on, who makes that?
Apple.
There you go, right there. There go three friends, three community partners right there. Look within yourself. What products do you use on an everyday basis? What products surround you? Because guess what? You're already an investor in Spider, Shure, and Apple. So, hey, I have purchased all of these products from you. Is there any opportunity where you guys give back? Do you do any community outreach? Do you have any sponsorships? Y'all have any foundations or any kind of give backs, fundraisers and things of that nature? Reach out to what's in your home right now, what's on your body, what's in your body. And that's where you can start when you like, where do I start? Start with you. You can actually start with you by going to another radio station and volunteering to whether they're bigger than yours or smarter than yours. You're just partnering. So you're meeting people, you're networking. Start with you, what's in you, and what's on you.
I
I think
love
that's a
that.
great point that Dana made because that's why we're here today. I'm a micro life gardener and I just happened to reach out to you guys. So that's a great point.
Yeah, and I think, like, that's such a great point, Dana, too, because how we spend our money and support local businesses have a very far-reaching impact, and a lot of people might, have a lot of opinions about things, but if they don't take a kind of a look about what they're surrounding with, how they're supporting local businesses, and if you want to get more involved with a local business, start by showing up there. So I think that is such a genius point and like look within. So excellent, excellent points. So for someone in Houston who wants to start a therapeutic garden of their own, where do you tell them to begin or what kind of resources do you like to encourage they look into?
I would say to start small, because gardening can snowball really fast. So you have to kind of decide what type of gardener you want to be. If you don't have a lot of space, there are a lot of options. You can use containers, raised beds, vertical gardens. Start with things that may be a little bit easier to grow because you don't want to get discouraged too early. If you try for something that's maybe a little finicky, plants sometimes have a mind of their own, but there are some that are a little bit easier to work with. And then also join the garden clubs. There are a lot of gardening clubs that you can go to in person around Houston. And then there are a lot of garden clubs online. So, like I said earlier, Facebook is a great resource. There's a lot of really good gardening groups specifically for Houston to join, and they give you a lot of really good information. And then also YouTube. I learned so much about zones and gardening from YouTube.
Amazing. All right. Well, I mean, thank you guys so much for joining us today. Do you have anything else you wanted to share with our audience that we haven't chatted about yet, or any new things that you all are working on?
Um, I don't have anything extra. Houston Strong is always working on a new program, a new project. So if you want to know more about us, we are online at houstonstrong.org. And then we are on Instagram at Houston Strong and on Facebook. And then I think that's all of our social media. If you're interested in fostering or adopting, you can always call our office and we can provide you with that information as well. Our phone number is 713-814-5950, and our after hours phone is 346-500-4614.
And I would just like to add that non-traditional therapy should be thought of as something amazing, something exciting, something that is just a foundation. But just think of it as therapy can be anything that you want it to be. That's why gardening came about. That's why EA gaming as a form of therapy came about. Yoga is a form of therapy. Culinary. No one thinks that cooking is a form of therapy. Make your own form of therapy. It doesn't have to be traditional. Whatever takes you away from the present so that you can be wherever you want to be. And what I've also learned is that it doesn't have to be an hour. You can start off with 2 minutes of mindfulness and consider that therapy. And don't compare yourself to anyone else. And we are only as strong as the people we surround ourselves with. Ubuntu, I am because you are, which means that I'm the best person that I can be because I'm sharpened by you, Sarah, who is becoming the best person that she can be. And we're sharpened by LaKendra, who's becoming the best version of herself. And if we're all sharp, we all grow. The world becomes a better place for us all.
Wow. Incredibly well said. I don't know about you guys, but I feel really inspired from this conversation. And we're so lucky that both of you guys could join us. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having us.
We thank you very much for having us, but we thank you even more for the contributions that you have made to Houston Strong and the youth in care. We really, really appreciate it on behalf of Sarah and Microlife. We thank you guys.
Oh, thank you.